I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now let's get this party started, folks.
Things are better left unknown, and I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever Oh, what a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner, is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Rippin' Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Rippin' Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Coming to you from a secret cave, hidden deep within the wilderness. This is the Darkwolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live from a secret cave hidden deep within the wilderness of Tennessee. That's right. We're ripping through the electromagnetic soup. We're tearing through the atmosphere, and we're tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show for Wednesday, May the 11th, 2022. So whether you're on the edge of a reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Folks, tonight we are diving deep down the rabbit hole of the most anticipated state in the entire union, at least with our audience, of course, as we broadcast out of Ripon, Wisconsin, as you guys know, and our show tonight is the great state of mystery of Wisconsin, and this place is absolutely packed with the paranormal. I assure you, it was well worth the wait, and we're going to cover it all here in just a moment. But first, let's go ahead and see who all we have out here in our YouTube chat rooms, both on the Rippin' Rabbit Hole as well as the DarkWolf's Den Show YouTube. How we doing out here tonight, folks? Great to see every last one of you guys. Like JoJo's hanging out over here in the DarkWolf's Den Show. Good to see so many of you guys tonight. Let me tell you, we got a fun weekend coming up. XGen says, boya, XGen, whatever that may be, I'll take it. Sandy B says, hey y'all, says I'm going to go on over to Rippin' and Mod there. Excellent, you stopped in, Sandy. We very much appreciate that. Deranged Lunatic, aka DL, glad to see you, my friend. Friend of mine from over at the Creepy Little Book channel. I do hope Pete's been doing good. I haven't had a chance to get over there and hang out. My Life DIY checking in. Glad to see you, My Life, of course. Says going to share this out. Be right back. Still listening. I appreciate that very much. Make sure you share this out everywhere that you can. We really would appreciate it. It's the only thing we really ask is just help get our name out there. JoJo's also checking in on the Rippin' Rabbit Hole YouTube channel. Great to see everybody over here tonight. Sandy B popping over from the DarkWolf's Den Show to the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. The Rippin' Rabbit himself checking in. Says standing erect during the national anthem. That's always a good thing. I like to see that, definitely. Maggie's Ace says, hi, Dark. Hey, Maggie's always a pleasure. Guideline Strike says, hello, good people. Hello, good Guideline Strike. Glad to see you, my friend. One of those I haven't had recently, thank goodness. Raider Champion, glad to see you, bud. Says, busy uploading stuff, so I'm assuming he's listening in the background. Says lake bunnies. Yeah, we'll get to the lake bunnies here shortly. I assure you there are a number of them. That looks like all we've got checking in so far over here in our chat rooms. Again, great to see everybody on this celebration weekend, folks. We are celebrating this weekend. That's right. Did you know that May 13th of 2020 is when the DarkWolf's Den Show first aired its pilot episode? That's right, folks, May 13th. Of course, that's going to be on a Friday this year. So the 11th and 12th, today and tomorrow, respectively, are our celebratory shows, our season finale. And I love that we're going to be able to finish up the state series just as well. So It is going to be a great, great weekend, and it's a party weekend. That will make more sense as you hear the topics that we have planned between AJ and myself the rest of the weekend long. More information on that coming up, of course, in the halftime part of the show. And of course, whether you are hanging out with us in our YouTube chat rooms or around the world on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the rippinrabbithole.com, or of course on our replay on BitChute or Rumble, we're glad to have every last one of you guys along for the ride. And we're going to take this ride here in just a moment, but as you guys know, first we've got two more fun little segments to do, the first of which we call Today in History. Here's a Today in History that my Mandela-affected friends will very much appreciate. Check this out. On this day in 1965, Ellis Island is added as part of the Statue of Liberty National Monument. Now, Statue of Liberty, as a lot of us remember, sat on Ellis Island. However, according to history now, the Statue of Liberty has always sat on Liberty Island, and Ellis Island was added as part of that monument on this day in 1965. And that is today's segment of Today in History.
Say what?
Our quote of the day today, folks, comes from the great comedian Bob Hope. He says, and I quote, "A bank is a place that will lend you money if you can prove you do not need it," end quote. And if that doesn't describe a bank better than anything I've ever heard, I don't know what does. Anyway, folks, that is today's segment of
Say what?
Like I said, folks, I am no big fan of banks myself, as you guys know, but one thing I am a fan of is the paranormal, and Wisconsin seems to have a concentration of paranormal, at least when it comes to the cryptids. There is a large number, apparently, of cryptids of one specific type more so than the rest. And here to tell us all about our cryptids this evening, of course, is our good buddy Ben Miller. Ben, what do we got starting off in Wisconsin?
As stated previously, Wisconsin does have a lot of cryptids. This makes sense, since they do have the ever-famous badger, and going back in history, mammoth bones have been found in the state, alongside evidence that ancient people were hunting them. So,
now, that's interesting, too. Think about that. We were told as kids that the woolly mammoth, that the woolly mammoth did not exist at a time that humans did. But in Wisconsin is where they found evidence to the contrary, and that they actually did hunt them well into humankind. So that's a very interesting little twist there, too, don't you think?
So strange and unique creatures aren't anything new to this state. Of course, this area is well known for the Beast of Bray Road, but I don't want to focus on that.
Me either, Ben. As you know, we don't like to do things that you can hear on every radio show ever. We like to go for the more unique stories that tend to fall through the cracks, if you will.
Especially since I already made a separate video about that topic.
Well, yeah, there's that too. But, Ben, the state of Wisconsin actually seems to have a concentration of one certain type of cryptid, right?
One thing I can say for certain is that it appears no bodies of water are devoid of some type of aquatic beast. There are at least 15 different lakes that are all said to have some type of creature lurking in them. As such, I will only talk about a couple. The first of which has to be the creature found in Devil's Lake, found near Baraboo.
He said there's not a body of water in the state that doesn't have some type of cryptid creature lurking in it. Think about that, folks. They've got a lot of lake bunnies, as AJ put it, in Wisconsin.
Many claim that the lake got its name from a Sioux word which meant bad spirit, but others claim it came from the Ho-Chunk word meaning sacred or spirit lake. As such, it was seen as a place where spirits gathered.
So, put another way, the paranormal aspect of this place is literally written into its name, folks. They knew that something was strange in this area.
According to lore, a Native American chief gathered some warriors for a late-night hunt, which required them to cross the lake. As they traveled by canoe over the moonlit, dark, glassy surface, everything seemed fine. Suddenly, tentacles burst out of the water, tore apart the canoes, and dragged its occupants under the water.
Now, for those skeptics out there, and we love our skeptics, of course, those who would say that this is an octopus, I would like to remind you we're talking about the state of Wisconsin. I don't believe they're that far inland. I could be wrong.
None of the members survived, but unlike most legends where you are left curious as to how this story could exist if no one was alive to tell the tale, this one has an answer. Apparently, the sound of the men screaming as they were being attacked brought the rest of the tribe to the shore. They stood in horror as they helplessly watched their loved ones being attacked. This story doesn't end here, since many others have claimed to see the beast as well.
And everybody knows that I put a large amount of weight into the stories that come from the Native American legends and tribes, as I believe they had no reason to lie but to report exactly what they were seeing. And we've seen many times over history where what was once considered mythos and legend turned out to be accurately true and verified later on.
Oddly enough, at one point the lake began to run dry due to a drought, and it basically split the body of water in two. It was at this point in history when the Dakota tribe claimed that they saw a strange reptilian-looking creature with many limbs trapped in the mud.
So I don't think I could have asked for better independent verification of a story than that of yet another Native American tribe. Again, so much weight I put into what they have to say opposed to more modern day sightings of things, right? Those only go to verify what the Native Americans had always originally said each time. But this is actually verified by yet another encounter by a different Native American tribe with this same creature. Or at least a creature strikingly similar to the one we just heard about from the Croy tribe.
For fear of what this creature could do, they watched it struggle to free itself for days. Finally, it managed to get out of the mud, and it immediately dove into the remaining deep parts of the lake. According to the missionaries in the area, they claimed that they also saw something odd in the lake, but it more resembled a plesiosaur.
And I would argue that it is more likely than not a sighting of the same creature, just from a different angle, perhaps when it was coming out of or going into the water, and only a portion of it was viewable, one or two tentacles and perhaps the mid-body, looking different than what the full creature would look as straight on. I would also argue that it is like the blind men and the elephant, each one feeling a different area, saying it is a different thing, however that all seems to be something completely separate than what all three of them were perceiving. So I would argue again that this is the same creature, just from a different angle.
If that wasn't odd enough, allegedly on March 4th, 1950, the daughter of the marshal named Mary Bell Allam came across an odd carcass that had washed up on the shore. It was described as being 20 feet long, weighed 1,000 pounds, had a body of a cow, had 9 limbs, and it was covered in dark hair.
To say that this creature is absolutely huge is an understatement. However, it does have features that match the aspects of creatures that have been described over and over again by the Native American tribes.
Even stranger still, a man named Derek Maleth from the Skillet Creek blog provided a picture he took while at the lake in late 2017. In this photo, it shows a massive shadow under the water, and it even has kayaks in the area for a size comparison.
And earlier tonight, we have posted this picture down the rabbit hole our exclusive freedom-based social media over at the ripinrabbithole.com, home of the Freedom Flame, of course, RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. If you rabbits would like to hop on over there and check it out, it is incredibly intriguing, at least in my opinion.
The next water creature is said to reside in Rock Lake near Lake Mills, and it has been given the name,
Please be Rocky, please be Rocky.
Rocky.
Yes! Now that is an awesome name for a sea monster. Ben, tell us about this creature.
For years, stories swirled about a creature living in the lake, but the first recorded sighting was in 1867 by a man simply known as Harbeck. He called the beast a saurian, and from all descriptions it was more like a typical sea serpent. Harbeck claimed to have encountered the creature many times, where once while he was out in the water, it grabbed his tow line and easily drug his boat out into the deeper waters.
This sounds more like an accident to me, actually. I don't think the creature meant to grab the tow line. I could be wrong. But it seems to me that it going into deeper waters almost like it was trying to escape something that had accidentally grabbed a hold of it, perhaps.
In another instance, he found it near the shore. It raised up and hissed at the man before scurrying back into the water.
So it really seems like this creature is trying to avoid contact with humans.
A man named R. Hassam also saw the creature on the shore laying in some reeds. When he approached it, it reared up and he struck it with a spear. He claimed that the creature was so strong it was like holding on to an ox.
It sounds to me like that validates the ability of this same creature to pull a boat along if it is that powerful.
In that same year, a man named Fred Seaver also claimed to see the beast twice, with one of those times it grabbing his anchor and dragging his boat at, in his words, a rushing speed for over half a mile.
Again, it feels to me like this creature was trying to get away from something that it had snagged. Like when you get a fish on a hook, for instance, it does its best to pull back into the water. I think the same thing here. I think it seen the anchor, thought that it was something else, went to grab it or even got hooked on by it, and at that point it was merely trying to escape.
Then in 1882, two men named Ed Mackenzie and D.W. Sabert were rowing their boats on the lake when they noticed what they thought was a massive log floating on the surface ahead of them. Quickly, this log turned out to be a strange creature that extended its neck and head about 3 feet above the water. It opened its mouth a foot and dove back under. As the two watched in shock, it suddenly re-emerged near Ed's boat. Mr. Sabert told Ed to hit it with an oar, but he was too terrified to do so. Mr. Mackenzie yelled to the shore where a group of onlookers had gathered, asking for someone to grab a gun since there was something massive in the water with them. Finally, a man named Wilson grabbed a gun and sped out to the two, but just as he was taking aim at the creature, it turned and dove under the water again. Ed stated that the monster was longer than his boat. During the whole time the encounter, and even afterwards, the air was thick with an odd, pungent, sickening odor.
And for anybody who has been following this series all season long, you'll know that that is a very unique part of the case file, having a pungent odor in the air after the sighting. That is something that we normally do not find in these sea serpent case files.
Following this, the adjoining lake to this one known as Red Cedar Lake started to have similar sightings. Predominantly, farmers were claiming that they actually saw a snake-like creature grab their livestock from the bank and drag them into the water. Later, the remains of the bodies would be found floating near the shore. In July of 1943, a man named Joseph Davis was out fishing on the lake. Suddenly, he saw the water start to bubble, and out of this emerged a 6 to 7 foot long torso of a creature, and it was a brownish-black color. Mr. Davis watched as he assumed he would see the head also appear, but instead, it dove back under the water. He claims that he doesn't know how big the creature was, since most of it was under the surface. It should be noted that there is Native American lore from the Ho-Chunk, in which they claim that there have been multiple creatures like the ones described, living in the lake for a very long time.
Again, these series of case files that seem to all validate each other, going all the way back to Native American lore, which, as I mentioned earlier, I put a lot more weight into.
On a side note, I've seen reports of alligators actually being found in the river as well from time to time. So, who knows?
Somehow, Ben, I just don't feel that alligators fits the case file descriptions that we have heard so far tonight. But aside from sea monsters, as we are starting to run a little low on time, Ben, what other kind of creatures does Wisconsin hold?
First and foremost, I feel driven to include a creature that should be considered more ghost, but since I have included a ghost cow in New Jersey and a spectral moose from Maine, then why not? This would oddly be known as, of course, phantom chickens.
I'm sorry, what, Ben? Did I hear that right? Phantom chickens?
Yes, you heard right.
Wow, didn't see that one coming. I know at least one of our listeners who will be very, very interested in this case file. Shout out to you, My Life DIY. Tell us, Ben, about these phantom chickens, sir.
Not much is written about these creatures, but it is said that they can be found in the aptly named Chicken Alley in the town of Seymour. The claims are that while driving on this road, you will see a chicken run in front of you, and when you get out, there will be nothing there. In other stories, people have seen a whole bunch of these chickens on the road, but again, they vanish before being hit. This story takes an even stranger twist, if that is possible, where some state that if you stand in the intersection of this road, disembodied voices will begin to yell at you. I know I don't include ghosts in these videos, but who could exclude one like this?
I can't say I blame you, Ben. That is definitely one of the more unique creatures we've had all season long. I told you guys this state is well worth the wait.
Another creature I couldn't find a lot about would be the goat man that is said to roam Hogsback Road in Richfield. The stories blend in with popular urban legends, so it is hard to discern what is believed real or not.
And of course, on this show, this is not our first encounter with a goat man, nowhere near it, as we know in the last year where we have went through this entire series of States of Mystery this season on the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show, we have seen a number of goat man reportings across a lot of different states in the Union.
It has been cited since the early 1800s, with some claiming that it has a taste for human flesh, where others say it is not aggressive. I have seen reports of it being responsible for pets going missing, for bodies of animals being found torn apart in the forest, and others say it has a taste for melons.
So it would seem, as most creatures in nature, it is ruled by its appetite or its hunger or lack thereof. Food. It would only seem to be aggressive when hunting for something to eat, right? Like any other creature in the world. And I gotta say, I like melons, don't you, Chris Spivey? Glad to see you over there in the Darkwolf's Den Show, as well as Euler, Greg. How you guys doing this evening? Glad you were able to make it.
Apparently 2 men were driving down the road in 2003 when they saw this creature run in front of them. It was described as having the horns of a goat, it had tiny thin arms, and its legs were large and muscular. Outside of the horns, I have to wonder if this doesn't describe the various kangaroo sightings in the state.
Which would still be incredibly out of place. A kangaroo in Wisconsin is not something you hear about every day.
Near the town of La Crosse, there have been sightings of a flying reptilian type of being since the 1990s. Originally it was spotted by...
Well, to be fair, Ben, the 90s were a pretty weird time. Just saying.
...by a man and his son in 1997 while they were out trying to find their lost dog. While on the search, they froze in terror as they saw a lizard man standing in the woods. In panic, the pair stood where they were, and the creature stared at them for a long time before walking away. At the same time, DNR wardens and highway workers claim to have seen a reptilian being while out working on Highway 13. They claim that the creature appeared to be observing them for quite some time before it opened its wings and shot off into the sky.
Another unique variation on a classic cryptid creature, the reptilian, which in my opinion is not a cryptid but an alien, but of course that's up for debate, right? Still, we don't find many flying reptilians across pretty much any case files I've read.
The best sighting occurred on September 26, 2006 by a 53-year-old man named Wohali and his 26-year-old son, who wished to remain anonymous. As they were driving on Briggs Road near La Crosse, they claimed that between 9:15 and 9:30 at night, they saw this same creature as it nearly flew into their windshield. Apparently, it landed on the road and stared at the two men for a while, then snarled and quickly took flight again. It was described as standing 6 to 7 feet tall, its skin was covered in green scales, its eyes glowed yellow in the vehicle's headlights, its wings were leathery with a span of 10 to 12 feet, and it had long claws on its feet and hands. The father further stated that it had human-like legs, its ribs were distended, it had long sharp teeth, and the look on its face appeared to them as if it was angry with them for being seen. After it flew away, both men inexplicably became violently ill. In fact, the son had to pull over and he vomited 6 to 7 times. Both men claimed that they felt ill for at least a week after the encounter. Wohali said that he was unsure if the creature had originally been standing on the road and planned to attack them when they came across it.
Honestly, Ben, this sounds like your favorite, the Mothman crossed up with a reptilian, right? At least to me. But there are, aside from the Beast of Bray Road, a number of werewolf incidents in Wisconsin, correct?
As mentioned, the Beast of Bray Road is quite well known, but since 1964 up until 1999, there have been other werewolf sightings in the cities of Milwaukee, Delavan, and Marathon County.
And there's also 2 more creatures from Native American lore that we've heard about across a lot of states. What 2 are those, Ben?
Thunderbirds are frequently sighted as well. For some reason, I saw a lot of reports about alleged Wendigo sightings from all over the state. Along with the lake monsters I discussed, there are many others, including those found in Lake Koshkonong, Lake Winnebago, Lake Pepin, and Geneva Lake.
So it sounds like Wisconsin has a large number of strange and cryptid creatures. But ladies and gentlemen, we have had a lot of help from our buddy Ben Miller this year for this whole season of States of Mystery. And this will be the last time we hear from Ben, so at least in this series. So Ben, we really appreciate you hanging out with us, my friend. And you take care now. Later, Ben. And folks, we will be right back. As you guys know, this music means we've got to go ahead and take a network break. So this is the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show, State of Mystery for Wisconsin. And we'll be right back with the second half of the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show and the hauntings of Wisconsin after these messages. Stick around. Don't touch that dial. That's right.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Oh yeah, that howl means your weekend has officially begun. Hi everyone, it's AJ, the Rippin' Rabbit. Are you enjoying tonight's State of Mystery for my home state of Wisconsin? I know I am. If you are and you haven't done so already, please make sure to hop on over to our website, rippinrabbithole.com. That's RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. There you can sign up for your exclusive backstage VIP pass. It's absolutely free to do so. It always will be. Once you get signed up, it's going to unlock a bunch of really cool features where the conversation continues after the show. We're live every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, bringing you the very best of common sense radio, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. Jerry Hicks and the Darkwolf's Den will howl in Thursday night, tomorrow, May 12th. Come along with him as the Season 2 finale, State of Mystery, comes to an end with Wyoming. Can you believe it? Oh my goodness, what a tremendous series. I only can imagine what Jerry has in store after Season 2 finale tomorrow night. Starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as all shows do. And then I'll return again Friday night Friday the 13th. Look at marijuana. That's right. We're going to dive deep down the rabbit hole of Mary Jane. That's Friday, May 13th. Friday the 13th, nevertheless, a good night for a reefer show. Then Saturday, May 14th, come along with me as we dive through simulation theory. Are we living in a simulated age of binary code? Perhaps we are. Find out Saturday, May 14th. Then we'll end out the weekend right together with you. Sunday, May 15th, a look at 52 cards, not including the jokers. Are you playing with a full deck? We're going to find out before the end of the weekend. I've got a couple tricks up my sleeve for that show. You're going to enjoy the way that we end out the weekend together right with you. But the conversation continues long after the show in our community-generated press, Down the Rabbit Hole. I invite you to come on over and take a look at everything that we have to offer you there. We'll return you back now to Jerry Hicks and the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show. The State of Mystery continues with Wisconsin for Wednesday, May 11th, 2022. You're listening to the Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, home of the Freedom Flame, rippinrabbithole.com.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And welcome back to the second half of the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show State of Mystery series for Wisconsin for Wednesday, May the 11th, 2022. So whether you're on the edge of a reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Folks, in the first half, if you're just joining us, we have went over a number of strange cryptid creatures. Definitely, probably in my opinion, the most lake monsters we've had in any state. We could be wrong about that, but I do believe that's the most I've found. Anyways, folks, as we get into the second half, as you guys know, we're going to cover the many strange hauntings of Wisconsin, and Wisconsin has a fair share of them to go through. Check this out.
The Wisconsin Historical Society. The Wisconsin Historical Society in Madison.
Okay, is there anything more awesome than a historical society being haunted? Like, you just can't make that one up. I absolutely love it. Wisconsin is such a great state, and there's so much I was going to say, and Lord help me, my train of thought. Oh, yes, I told you guys the weekend is going to be a party weekend for sure, right? Hearing what our topics are coming up this week, this is definitely a celebration of 2 years of the DWD show for those that are just tuning in.
And was founded in 1846, and it's rumored that at least 2 individuals have died in the building, and that their souls may still remain. The first apparition is that of a man who is recorded as having fallen asleep at his desk and never woke up.
Clearly he didn't wake up on this side of the veil. However, it seems like he did wake up on the other side.
He is often seen walking about the hotel in an old-fashioned suit, seemingly unaware he's dead. On several occasions, he's startled guests by suddenly appearing in his old room.
There's clearly not enough information here to determine whether or not it is a caretaker ghost. However, it does clearly seem to be a person that is still doing their daily routines as if they were still on this side of the veil.
The second spirit here is that of a workman who fell from the 3rd story, landing hard on the marble floor. Multiple guests have reported seeing him in his old uniform, working on various parts of the hotel, and even seeing blood spattered on the old banisters. Also reported are disembodied footsteps, objects flying from shelves, and the feeling of being watched.
So starting out with a really simple one tonight, as this seems to be active hauntings to the degree of people not knowing they're dead and still going about their regular routines.
The Wausau Club. The Wausau Club in Wausau was built in 1902 by a group of wealthy lumbermen and lawyers who decided to settle in Wausau just a year prior, with the purpose of promoting business interests and social enjoyment among the community. As local legend goes, the old clubhouse is tragically haunted by the ghost of a woman who hung herself in the east wing upon discovering she was pregnant.
And this one perfectly fits our recipe for a haunting. We have the high trauma and we have the high emotion, clearly in setting a haunting situation in reality.
Dubbed Martha by locals, her full-bodied apparition is commonly seen in the room where she died and on the grand staircase. She's been known to cause electrical malfunctions, chandeliers to swing noticeably, and during renovations, workers complained of their tools going missing frequently. This is nothing new, however, as staff claim that objects often go missing and turn up later in different places.
Normally, that is evidence of a caretaker ghost. Again, there's not enough information here to argue one way or the other on that particular point. So it appears that we have a playful ghost at hand, one that seems to have a cognition of self, right?
Fairlawn Mansion and Museum. Fairlawn Mansion and Museum in Superior was built in 1891 and was originally owned by Martin Patterson, who was a kind man known for treating his maids and servants more like his family. As the story goes, a young woman who was a servant at the home was murdered by her husband, and she loved her work at the mansion so much that her spirit never left.
And like always, we have yet another case file that fits our recipe perfectly. High trauma plus high emotion.
To this day, staff and visitors report her full-bodied apparition sighted throughout the building. She's been known to so much as lead visitors on full tours or to her display, with them being none the wiser.
Now this is more classic to the caretaker ghost, acting as if they were still caretaking the place, as she was a maid, of course, at the time.
Also reported are the spectral shapes of small children seen and sometimes heard playing throughout the halls. They are thought to be from the time period the mansion spent as an orphanage.
For some reason, it seems that we have found in this series that when something happens to children in an area, those seem to be the most potent ghost case files, right? Those always come back to haunt for whatever reason.
Northland College. Northland College in Ashland was founded as the North Wisconsin Academy in 1892, with the name later changed in 1906. Various reports have sprouted up over the years in scattered locations across the grounds, including otherworldly winds, strange lights in closed buildings, and the feeling of someone or something following students at night. The most active location on campus is Memorial Hall, where a girl fell down an elevator shaft and died. Many suspect that her boyfriend pushed her and that she never got vengeance in life.
Again, high trauma, high emotion. However, this one is still trying to get vengeance in death. If you are a male, you probably do not want to go around this building, and here's why.
Her spirit is known to lure men to the very same spot and attempt to push them to the same fate. Also reported as the spirit of a former janitor who has been known to leave dirty handprints on car and classroom windows, unscrew.
So unless you'd like to take an accidental flight course without wings, I would definitely stay away from this one as a male paranormal researcher. And Chris Spivey says, that's what I'm hoping to find at Donaldson. Something we've got coming up, investigation we're working on putting together. I've many times in this show spoke about Fort Donaldson. I had the opportunity, the luxury to sit down with my good friend Chris Spivey about a week or two ago. I think it's about a week ago now. I was able to sit down and enjoy a good dinner with my good buddy that I ain't seen in many years, and We had discussed a number of different topics, some of which included paranormal. And we've decided to try to put together an investigation. Of course, we will report more on that as we find. But let's get back to this Wisconsin one. As we left this last case file here, if you mess with or if you go to this building, the girl will try to mess with you and send you sailing down a elevator shaft. Quite scary indeed, that. And this next one is a janitor. Check this out.
Screw light bulbs and turn students' computers on and off in the middle of the night.
It's bad enough to have a ghost janitor, but to have a disgruntled ghost janitor, now that is the absolute worst. Instead of fixing things, it unfixes things, right? Definitely an intriguing case file, though. Don't you guys agree?
Hearthstone Historic House Museum. Hearthstone Historic House Museum in Appleton was built in 1882 and served as the first private residence in the world to be powered by a centrally located hydroelectric station. It was purchased in 1900 by A.W. Priest, who lived in the home until his death in 1930. Many believe that his soul stayed behind in his beloved home. Staff and visitors have reported extreme cold spots, shadowy figures moving throughout the halls, and a strong feeling of disapproval.
You know, I really do find it absolutely fascinating that not only do we know that heavy emotion and heavy trauma at time of death causes a haunting, that's without question at this point. It's been proven enough times on this show. However, it is also interesting that this feeling of disapproval, this emotional link still exists in reality itself. There's an emotional tie even from the other side, the feeling of disapproval when you're in this area.
On several occasions, the full-bodied apparition of an angry Mr. Priest has materialized suddenly, sending visitors running from the grounds. To keep paranormal mischief to a minimum, staff have a routine of greeting Mr. Priest each morning, which seems to calm him down throughout the day.
So this sounds more like a case of needing approval or acknowledgement that one is there, and the ghost seems to calm down. Still, it has this emotional tinge to it. Without a body, the emotion is still existent. Very intriguing.
The American Club. The American Club in Kohler was built in 1918 by the Kohler Company to house their immigrant workforce. Now a luxury spa and resort, a couple of the spirits from its early days are said to remain. A woman in a blue hat is commonly seen standing by the fireplace and is said to have hung herself in room 209 after learning of her husband's death.
And yet again, we have another piece of evidence towards our recipe: high trauma plus high emotion. Once again, I've said it many times, we have proven on this show that that is the case.
She has been known to move personal possessions and talk with guests in a melancholy way. The second ghost here is that of a man in a torn flannel shirt and dirty jeans. Not much is known about him, but he's most often sighted walking the hallway at night, smoking a cigar. He's been known to turn lights on and off, create strange chain clinking noises, and move things from the walls and shelves to the floor.
Although a little different than normal, I would still say that this seems to be a case of a caretaker ghost, at least to some degree, right?
The Eagles Club. The Eagles Club, also known as the Rave, was built in 1926, and the basement was once used as a men's shelter. The director was rumored to have been abusive and cruel, and it's believed his spirit, along with several of the housed men, still remain. Staff and visitors have reported a wide range of activity, including extreme cold spots to the point where breath is visible.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and repeat that because I really think that's kind of an important piece of this particular case file.
Extreme cold spots to the point where breath is visible.
It goes to show that there is literally environmental interaction. We know that from electronics, of course, and different things that we see, but there's literally an environmental interaction that changes the temperature of the air itself to where you're literally breathing out air that is like as if you were standing out on a cold night. You can see your breath. That is incredibly intriguing, just the fact that for some reason, by some degree, even though it is on the other side, it has a physical environmental effect on this side.
Shuffled footsteps through empty halls, and disembodied voices. Several have also reported the spirit of a little girl that is usually seen hiding behind the coat check. A group of children has also been seen and heard playing throughout the halls. Several have reported the sound of a child crying at night, claiming the sound sent an inexplicable feeling of terror down their spine.
Now, this one I can't quite figure out because I don't know, there was no history given whether or not children had died on this property either way, right? However, could it be the installation of emotion into reality at the time? So if there were a lot of strong emotions at the time from the kids playing in the area, or if they played in the area a lot, build the emotion up, or the baby crying is also very, very interesting to me because once again, we don't have a reason why these ghosts would actually be on the property at all.
The Mabel Tainter Center for the Arts. The Mabel Tainter Center for the Arts in Menominee was built in 1890 by Mr. and Mrs. Tainter for their daughter, Mabel, who passed away at the age of 19. She loved art and theater, and it's believed that her spirit may still reside here. She has been seen floating silently through the theater and downstairs in the women's restroom, dressed in white, gazing in the mirror. It's suspected that she isn't alone, however, as actors report seeing ghostly figures in the audience during rehearsals, disembodied voices in the changing rooms, and claim to feel as if they were being watched.
One of our listeners, Sandy B., once said that it seems that every theater is haunted, and I would have to agree. It seems that every theater that has drama plays, right, the stage theaters, seem to be definitely haunted to some degree.
In the old library, a strange light is often seen at night, accompanied by shadowy figures and scratching sounds. Lastly, a dark figure has been spotted on the catwalk and is believed to be responsible for tampering with the equipment and lighting regularly.
These do not seem to be the most friendly entities of all, but at least they still enjoy a good show, right? As I said, some of them actually sit in the audience and watch rehearsals. I would be a little more concerned with the catwalk ghost. I'd hate to be on the catwalk up, above a theater in the lighting section and run into somebody that's not supposed to be there, let alone a ghost, right? That would be quite scary indeed.
The Maribel Caves Hotel. The Maribel Caves Hotel in Maribel was built in 1900 and has been dubbed Hotel Hell by local legend. Today it lies in ruins due to a large fire in 1985. There are two stories in particular that are told regarding the blaze. The first story goes that this was the third fire in the hotel, and each fire happened on the same day of the year, the final fire being the one that killed everyone. The second story says that a hotel guest went crazy and set the hotel on fire in the middle of the night, murdering everyone inside.
Either way, every single person there died. That is a lot of energy, especially if you figure that even maybe some had awoken before dying. The heavy emotion, heavy trauma, absolute definite hauntings.
Either way, it's believed that the tragedy left a scar on the property. As if this isn't bad enough, it's also rumored that a coven of witches opened a permanent portal to hell in the old structure, and that every demon that crosses over is still trapped in the old building. Those brave enough to explore these cursed remnants report blood leaking from the walls, terrifying screams at night, strange noises coming from the basement, and the ghostly ring of desk bells long lost. The mysterious apparition of a little girl in a black dress is frequently seen here and has been known to press her icy little hands against the backs of any who cross her path.
So if you're a paranormal researcher, this seems to be the best one tonight to try to go and research, as it seems to be the most haunted so far on our list. And we have saved, of course, the best for last. As we are out of Ripon, Wisconsin, we have a ghost file right out of Ripon, Wisconsin called Which road, check this out, Callan Road in Ripon, Wisconsin is better known as Witch Road, largely because it is said to be haunted by the spirit of a witch that inhabits the woods surrounding the road. Those driving at night describe how the gnarled branches of the trees cast gruesome shadows in their headlights before taking on the form of a twisted old crone, the witch. Some have seen strange flashing lights in the woods close to where the remains of an old house believed to have belonged to the witch is located. This is certainly one of the most haunted locations in Wisconsin, not for the faint of heart, and especially one of the most haunted locations in Ripon. But what do you guys think? From the amazingly strange cryptids, the amount of sea serpents of which I've never seen the likes of, to the numerous hauntings throughout the state, do you think that the state of Wisconsin is a definite state of mystery? Or do you think we're barking up the wrong tree? In the end, folks, all you can do is look at the evidence, apply a little common sense, and you be the judge. We got to close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode of the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show for Wednesday, May the 11th, 2022. Haha. So whether you're on the edge of a reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Folks, the din may be closing, but don't you worry, the weekend fun has only just begun. We will return tomorrow, Thursday, May the 12th, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, with the Season 2 finale. That's right, folks, we made it through yet another year, and it's also the last state in the State of Mystery series. We could not have timed that better if we tried, right? Which we did not. But folks, tomorrow we will be covering the great state of Wyoming and finishing out Season 2 of the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show, and we have a whole lot more fun planned for Season 3, so stick around. We've got a lot more to go. And the weekend also has a lot more to go. As we close out tomorrow night, we will be kicking it over to our buddy AJ the Rippin' Rabbit as he comes back with 3 more episodes of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show on Friday, May 13th, Friday the 13th, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. AJ comes back to the airwaves to discuss marijuana, something that has really changed its status in the last couple years across the country, as more and more states seem to be getting open-minded about the idea. And as the states continue to do that, we'll see what the Fed has in mind, as things may change in this country dramatically when it comes to marijuana. We will see, and AJ will be discussing at least some of that on Friday, May 13th, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then on Saturday, May the 14th, 2022, of course, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, AJ comes back with yet another episode of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. This time he's going to be talking about simulation theory, something that a lot of people in the Mandela Effect community have looked very deeply into. Some are convinced that's the answer to the Mandela Effect. Are we living in a simulation? Is all of reality simulated? Well, I'm sure AJ will discuss at least one of those topics, if not both, on Saturday, May the 14th, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then on Sunday, to round the weekend out right, AJ's going to be back one last time with one more episode of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. This time he's going to be discussing 52 cards. That's right, the deck of cards holds a many number of mysteries, and there's actually quite a bit of intrigue within a really single deck of cards. Also, I'm sure, being the magician that he is, he'll have at least one or two tricks up his sleeve. At least that's what he mentioned in the break, right, guys? But it is definitely going to be an incredibly fun show, and most likely information you've never heard before. If so, perhaps it'll be information you've enjoyed, right? Either way, make sure you tune in Sunday, May 15th, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as AJ rounds the weekend out right with you, discussing 52 cards. And if you don't know, we do go live every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, as well as Sunday night here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Rippin'Rabbithole.com. Speaking of the Rippin'Rabbithole.com, if you haven't already, make sure you hop on over there. That is Rippin'Rabbithole.com. Over there, you're going to find things like our specialized, privatized social media network, the Down the Rabbit Hole section, where we did drop that picture from the first half. You can still make sure you go over there and check that out, guys. Also, while you're on that site, make sure you scroll through the front page and the numerous amount of recipes that we have over there. Speaking of food, if you go to the groups section, My Life DIY has started the Gangster Gardening group over there, and there's also a number of other groups if you're interested, from the Mandela Effect to the International Mandela Effect Conference, as well as a number of lucid dreaming, paranormal, and even regular discussion groups, including Raider Champions Be Well. So there's a large amount of things to choose from. Also, one last thing, make sure you hop on over to the 24/7 Backstage Lounge, where I'll be right after the show here in just a couple minutes, hanging out with the rabbits, and I would love to see every last one of you guys there. We can fit 100 in the room. Let's see if we can get 100 people in there, right? With that said, folks, our time is up, so we have to get out of here tonight. On behalf of AJ the Rippin' Rabbit, Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, Walt House, everyone involved with Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, as well as Tom Baillies and Red Shed Studios for this incredible music. My name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you've been listening to the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show State of Mystery series for the great state of Wisconsin. Probably the most well-awaited show of the entire year, right? Anyways, folks, until we meet again, remember, stay awake, but dare to dream. Good night, everybody. How? Yeah! That's right.
Unlocked and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner, is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion?